Hello friends, greetings from Australia again. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on when you're listening to this. Today is story time again, and I thought I'll read you a story that sort of involves a little bit my daughter as well, and how she experienced her first meditation. I wrote that in 2019, so it is a few years old, but it is still actual. It involves horses and being with horses. Actually, today is a bit of a sad day for me because we've just learned that a herd of about 7 or 8 brumbies has been shot in Mount Kosciuszko. For those who are on my Facebook page, you will see it there. But that is sad. So I guess a story from horses and about horses might be fitting. This story is called The Eye of the Storm. As I am writing this, a few hundred kilometers north from where I live, Cyclone Debbie is making landfall. She is a Category 4 cyclone with destructive winds of 270 kilometers an hour. In her wake follows heavy rain. I look out the window into a sunny, calm morning and think of all the people being evacuated. In nature, there is a purifying, cleansing quality to storms. They have the ability to restore balance where it was lost. Prior to Cyclone Debbie, the water temperatures around the Great Barrier Reef were so high that they caused even more bleaching of the already fragile corals. In our area, the heat and unseasonal dry conditions turn the ground to dust, the grass to a brown mass which crunched under our feet. There was a staleness, a heaviness in the air that affected our bodies, hearts and minds. Speaking for myself, my temper was getting short, built-up frustration spilled into anger, and the fine balance between thoughts, emotions, and instincts was disrupted. More than once I caught myself beginning the day by cursing the yet again blue sky, the yet again scorching sun. This followed by a tirade of, "What am I doing in this God-forsaken place, in this bloody heat and humidity? I must have been a complete lunatic to move here." Thoughts like these quickly accumulated into a crescendo of the magnitude of Cyclone Debbie, all contained in my head. And like the storm that gathers everything in its path, its force uprooting trees, ripping roofs off of buildings, knocking down power lines, and by default gathering more and more debris to add to its destructive power, the poison of dysfunctional thoughts floods the mind and distorts, tarnishes everything it touches. In her book Riding Between the Worlds, Linda Kohanoff refers to this phenomena as the tornado head. This happens when there is an imbalance between the true self and the false self. The true self being the authentic you, the false self being the inner critic, the result of social conditioning, societal expectations, imposed values and behaviors that we are expected to display. It is a bunch of masks that we are exchanging according to the roles we play in order to survive, to succeed in society. In her beautiful documentary, The Path of the Horse, Stormy May interviews a number of personalities from the world of horses. They have one thing in common. They learn from and listen to their horses. Whilst they still fulfill many roles in their lives, they do so authentically without masks. I recognized all of them, their books, read over and over, always within the reach in my library. One of those personalities is Mark Rashid. In the documentary, he speaks about the principle of Aikido, to have a mind like still water. For what reflects reality more clearly than the perfect mirror of still water? But throw one stone into that undisturbed surface, and from the point of contact, the ripples effect starts. Throw more stones, and the ripples spread across a larger area. They encroach on each other's paths. Some grow in size and volume, others cancel each other out. Chaos ensues, and the once accurate reflection of reality becomes distorted, fragmented, a mere misconstruction of the picture originally presented. The mirror cracks, fogs up, its clarity gone. Those stones are our thoughts, our emotions, and instincts that manifest all at once, but are disconnected from each other, out of sync, out of balance. They interact, they react to each other in a chaotic way without the context of harmony and clarity. And just like a cyclone gathers more debris, which causes more harm, the mind generates more unhelpful thoughts, which create more unhelpful emotions and cast instinct into a dungeon of silence. The resulting picture resembles nothing of the original one, more like an abstract version of an impressionist painting created by an angry artist dragged to his eyeballs. Scary as it is, that picture then becomes our reality. Now, to add to the hullabaloo, nothing happens in isolation. We humans are social animals. We react to each other, learn from each other, for example, by imitation, get infected with each other's emotions. And because most of us carry the same cracked, fogged up mirror, we react to the distorted images we perceive. And we reciprocate accordingly. The following scenario unfolds. Picture a lake ringed by forests and tall trees. The beach is made of pebbles and small stones. The surface is still as there is no wind to disturb the peace. The pristine water, light blue at the edges, darkens to a deep indigo as the banks fall away to great depths. Trees, reeds, birds, clouds passing overhead, and the setting sun are reflected with such clarity and detail that one struggles to tell the difference between reality and its reflection. Then a human comes along. For a while he or she takes in the picture, then picks up a flat rock and tries to skip it across the surface. Ripples form, the surface is disturbed. More humans come, and inspired by the first human's activity, they begin to imitate the behavior. Rocks, small and large, hit the surface, which becomes increasingly turbulent. They no longer see, nor do they care about the lost peace and clarity of things. Pure reflection of reality no longer counts. What counts is their perception of reality. Some have fun, others get frustrated as they can't skip rocks across the water because ripples and waves caused by the others prevent that from happening. Their frustration turns to anger. Some get discouraged and leave, others stop and pause and step back for a while, but the majority pick up rocks and start throwing them at each other. Those can be hurtful words, hateful thoughts, or behaviors ranging from being manipulative to passive-aggressive, to outright aggression. The storm rages, gathering momentum. The storm within their own minds demonstrates by their reactions and behaviors towards each other or equally destructive towards themselves. Here I would like to say, beware of those who, under the pretense of self-work, claim to know, to understand, to guide others. As long as they source solution from without rather than from within, the only thing they learn is to pretend they are better than others. But their mirrors are equally clouded, equally cracked, if not more. Why am I saying that? Because not so long ago I was one of them. In his seminars, Klaus Ferdinand Hempfling refers to this storm as the world of six. We will visit this concept in another chapter. Is there a solution then? The one solution I found was to still my mind, to sit in the eye of the storm, to own my joy and my pain, to accept that I may get swept by it again, and yet to remain still. Who helped me to even just begin to seek that stillness, that softness within myself? It was my daughter and a herd of horses. So, how do I still my mind, you may ask? What technique, what meditation do I use to regain that clear mirror that reflects things as they are? To be honest, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. However, I would like to share one example when this happened, when clarity, softness and stillness entered a mind hand in hand. And it didn't happen through words. It happened in a small space in the middle of a herd of highly agitated horses. In an equine-assisted therapy workshop for professionals, such as psychologists, social workers and counselors who work in a field of trauma, PTSD, mental illness and somatic manifestation of the impact of past abuse, presenter Kathleen Ingram produced some ideas which some of us found challenging precisely for the reason I just discussed. The topic we were covering at that time was about mindfulness and shared energy. There were exercises to follow, and for that purpose we had one horse in the arena and other 5 horses in the adjacent smaller enclosure. At the point, one of the participants shared some of her current life challenges and her emotional response, which was anger, confusion and resentment. As she was talking and delving into those emotions, the horses in the enclosure became restless. In sync with the emotions felt within the group, the restlessness of the horses escalated into agitation and some displays of mutual aggression. Although the pen was over 20 meters away from where our group was seated, I felt the connection between both groups, humans and horses. I was about to get up and calm the horses, but my daughter was already on her way to the pen. She entered the enclosure, walked to the stump in the middle and sat down. I felt a rush of anxiety and an urge to call her back and go there myself. Yet something stopped me. The horses were still restless, squealing, mock-charging, snorting. There was a lot of movement, and in the middle of all those stomping feet, flying manes and snapping teeth, my petite daughter. She sat there completely still, her long hair moving in the breeze. "Is she gonna be okay?" asked one of the participants. "She will be fine," I replied. "She knows what she's doing." As I was speaking, I felt my anxiety subsiding. It was replaced by trust in my daughter, the horses, nature, fate. I returned my attention to the group and to the conversation, keeping the pen in my peripheral vision. Suddenly everything changed. All was still. The conversation became a mere hum of voices. In the enclosure, the activity stopped. All 5 horses now stood in a circle around my daughter. Their heads lowered, their breaths deep. I could barely see my daughter's small form among the large bodies. Malika, my white mare, stood directly opposite her, facing her. I couldn't see much more, but an overwhelming sense of something, perhaps an exchange taking place, overcame me. After a while, my daughter got up, brushed off some leaves and bits of grass, and rejoined the group. She did not share her experience. To most, she simply went to calm the horses. That night, when she and I quietly summed up the day, my daughter spoke. As soon as the commotion started, I thought better go there and see what's happening. Perhaps they just felt crowded. At the start, it was like entering the lion's den. I felt a massive build-up of fear. Then the topic of what we'd been talking about in the group sprang to mind. Meditation, calm energy, the ability to project and share that energy. So I thought, what the heck? I will give it a try. When I sat on the stump, I started taking slow, deep breaths. I never meditated before. This was all pretty new to me. The first thing I noticed was that fear left me. Was I in danger? With my head within the kick zone of 5 unruly horses? Yes. Should I feel fear? Yes. Should I do something about my safety? Definitely. Yet there was no more fear. I didn't suppress my self-preservation instinct. It simply wasn't there. Slowly I began to focus on one sense only. Within that sense, I singled out only one source. The first sense was hearing. I focused on the sound of birds. I took notice of the pitch, the rhythm, the distance, the variety of their sounds, the direction they were coming from. Soon that sound became very clear and rich. Then I focused on another sound, the trees, and the rustling of their leaves, the breeze in the grass, and another, the sound of human voices, and so on. Then I listened for all of them. The clarity of it all was unbelievable. I did the same with sight and touch. Pretty soon I got a picture of my surroundings that was multiple times richer and more detailed than what I usually saw. And it was whole, complete. I saw the paddock, the forest, the people, the house, the birds, the clouds, the sky as a whole. The colors, the shapes, the sounds, the touch of the breeze, and the heat of the sun on my skin, all was enhanced in intensity and clarity, in depth, in texture. It was as if my senses took me to a whole new level where words were irrelevant and unnecessary. I was a mere observer. I also sensed the quietness and presence of the horses. They were standing around me, their heads low, sighing. Surrounded by their bodies, listening to their breathing, I felt protected, shielded. I felt being part of their herd, being accepted as their equal. It was as if we all were part of something larger, something profound, something significant, something deeply shared. I felt peace that was absolute. Malika was standing directly opposite me, looking at me. Her look was very different from what I remember. It was soft, forgiving. It was a look that saw the very core of my soul. And then a wave came. It came directly from her towards me. It was so strong, so intense. Was it energy? I don't know. All I know is that it was good. It was healing. I sensed it coming and then I blocked it. I thanked Malika and I told her that I am not ready yet. Not for this. Not here. Not now. This was too precious and I felt unworthy and a bit frightened to open myself to her gift. Then she looked at me with the inevitable question, was that bad? Malika was trying to tell me something, to communicate, and I blocked it. Now I wonder, will there ever be another opportunity to experience something like this, or did I miss it for good? Do solutions happen from outside in? No, they don't. They may present situations, opportunities, realities, and pathways to learning, but they will not become solutions unless they are allowed to work in balance with real changes on the inside, with softness and stillness of the mind, with true connectedness and balance of the soul, the mind, the heart, and the gut, and the world outside. No matter how many changes of job, of place of residence, of hair color, or body shape and image, no matter how many tiger eyes and amethysts and onyxes we clutter our living spaces and offices with, no matter how many books we read, words we speak, and as a matter of fact, no matter how many horses we fill our paddocks with, all this will wear off if we hold onto the cracked and fogged up mirrors on the inside. So what's the silver lining of storms? They can bring chaos, but they can also bring opportunities for change. They clear away staleness, they blow away cracked mirrors, and for those of us who choose, they present us with motivation to seek untarnished clarity through softness and stillness within. The proverb that sometimes you find yourself in the middle of the storm, and sometimes in the middle of the storm you find yourself, may be in this instance a fair statement. My daughter for a brief moment found that softness, that stillness and clarity. She saw true reflection of reality through the senses of a horse, the only being that walks between two worlds. For a brief moment she was connected not only to the horses, to nature and to humans, but also to her true self in her entirety. And this can happen by becoming a mere observer of things. Horses establish this connection with and within us. They show us when we have found it. Then they become gentle, turn to us. Then they talk to us. And their expressive power is astonishing. This was a quote by Ulrike Dietmann. Okay, this was quite lengthy, and this is actually completes the first chapter of my book. The introduction was the herd that I read you before. So I guess for those of you who this resonates with, you might want to listen to it maybe more than once. I hope it gave you something, and we will talk about it a little bit more when we talk about adolescents and young people in our next chat from Down Under. Okay, wishing you again a good morning, good day, good afternoon, evening and good night, and talk to you soon. Bye.